This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 2nd of July 2021, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
I am CS.
And in case you missed today's headlines, here they are.
Yeah.
In the Daily Nation, BBI, the case to sink Uhuru Raila project. In the Standard, lawyers train guns on Uhuru. And in the Star, roadmap to Jubilee ODM coalition deal. Of course, as expected, as the BBI appeal case is ongoing, all the headlines are talking about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to speak about that today, are we?
Absolutely. Now, today, we want to hypothesize that Kikuyus will be the new troublemakers in 2022. Murang'a, Kiambu, Nyeri will be the new trouble hotspots. And that's because they've been radicalized by the new teen god. Allow us to paint the following picture.
Oh boy.
It's August 2022, and we have all voted. Results begin streaming in, and Raila Odinga is winning by a healthy margin. RUTO calls for a presser and announces that the deep state has rigged him out. He tells the world that his Ufukara Daima party, Parallel Tally Center, has him far ahead of Raila. He warns IBC that should they not make him the winner, he will call for mass action. IBC ignores him and goes ahead to announce that Raila is the winner. But something is different. Raila's bastion of Nyanza, Kibera, Kondele, Western and Coast is in jubilation. The era of stone throwing and uprooting railways is gone. The traditional troublemakers are now the new party throwers. Meanwhile, in Hustler Nation territory, read Wezi territory, there is absolute dejection. The teen god has been defeated, but hustlers think they have been rigged out by dynasties. So they obey the chief hustler's clarion call for mass action. Bomet, Murang'a, Kericho, Kiambu erupt. And the object of aggression this time round isn't a particular ethnic group, it is class. Anyone with a bit of wealth, cars, mansions, nice-looking dogs, pianos and paintings comes or becomes the object of aggression. The ethnic clashes cycle turns into a full-on class war. Kikuyus in Mathare attack those in Muthaiga. Kikuyus in Githogoro attack those in Runda. Kikuyus in Kawangware attack those in Lavington. Before you know it, there is a scramble for wealth. Those in rural Kiambu, Murang'a, Naivasha, Nyeri, Laikipia invade coffee, tea, pineapple and flower farms, chanting Haki Yetu. And before you know it, redistribution of land and wealth has happened overnight. What's our point here? What if RUTO knows he won't win in 2022? What if he is creating a background of acceptance in order to dig in and contest 2022 post-election? And do you really think RUTO is the type of guy who will concede defeat? We hypothesize RUTO's real plan is to have a contested election. Just like Raila forced Kibaki's hand in 2008, RUTO will try and force his hand and reach a compromise that will keep him in government. Question is, will his competitors agree?
As much as that's hypothetical, it's quite a scary, situation to envision.
Absolutely. But what do you expect with chicken seller number one?
I have a question to him. Yeah. When you said Raila's strongholds would be in jubilation, was that an intended pun?
Wow.
Now, there's an article that was carried in The Nation about NMS. Nairobi Metropolitan Services has announced plans to relocate the more than 20,000 mechanics from Grogan to a site sandwiched between Utalii College and Mathare Hospital on Thika Road. Major General Mohammed Badi revealed the plan earlier this month, and currently the site has already been sealed off and the construction of roads that mechanics and their customers will use has started. The new development is to free up the land adjacent to the Nairobi River for the implementation of the Nairobi Waterfront Improvement Project, which involves cleaning up the river and creating public resting places on its banks for use by the public. The project will cover the area from Globe Roundabout up to the Racecourse Roundabout and will be implemented by NMS in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment and other agencies. General Badi has also stated that part of the plan is to light up the whole of Nairobi River to have people enjoy the riverfront like people enjoy in other cities, for example, River Thames in London.
Fantastic.
But also, moving the mechanics from Grogan to Thika Road is not just about the Nairobi waterfront improvement project. It is part of a broader, elaborate plan to infuse more seamless and efficient order in the Nairobi metropolitan transport ecosystem, as well as in our urban planning in general. For example, part of the proposed plan with respect to coordinating transport includes a digital control center which will be used for coordinating public transport. This will entail the registration of PSVs as well as tracking vehicles. But a key difference this time is whereas in the past government would edge out the private sector in trying to control public transport, NMS plans to work hand in hand with Matatu SACCOs in the registration, coordination and tracking. From the digital control center, NMS will be able to monitor traffic, accidents, gridlocks, and even passenger movement. The system will even be linked with trains and airlines. And so, for example, it will be possible to know that a passenger on a train that is delayed is supposed to be on a particular flight. The quality of this information presents a wealth of possibilities, especially when we consider the impact that transport and traffic flow has on the economy, particularly when we consider the significance of Nairobi as a regional hub. We will conclude with this. Roger Stone says that there are men of action and there are men of words. Just like we have observed with the vaccine rollout plan to vaccinate all adults by the end of next year, we can also increasingly bear witness through NMS that President Uhuru and General Badi are men of action. While Mike Sonko, DP Ruto, same was up. Sana sana ni hadithi kem. These days DP anasema mengi lakini hakuna kutenda.
And people are so opposed at having the military, do things. The proof is in the pudding, it's working.
Precisely.
Okay, so we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines. We ask ourselves, is the headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and thoughtful or just plain lazy? I'm going to say, based on the fact that we're not addressing the BBI appeal case right now, I'm going to toss out both the Daily Nation and the Standard. Do we agree?
Yes.
Actually, it wasn't a question. I had already decided. All right.
It's not a democracy.
And we are left with the Star. But today I actually want to take us back to a headline from yesterday in the Star. And the headline read, 3.7 billion shillings school cash scam rocks Magoha ministry. Now on the face of it, this reads like a normal headline. And sadly, Kenyans have been conditioned to expect corruption headlines and normalize the effects of them. Personally, I'm of the view that corruption should be legalized in Kenya, but that's a conversation for another day. The reason that I want to revisit this particular headline is because something about it bothered me. Something about it felt disingenuous. So consider this. At the end of July, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be co-hosting a global education summit that is seeking to raise $5 billion in the name of education. This is a big deal. Not only is Kenya co-hosting this event with the United Kingdom on equal platform, but Kenya has been selected for being a model nation in education reform. This is recognition for the consistent and extensive work that the government has embarked on. As I mentioned yesterday, there are narratives that the media have no interest in covering. Stories that edify and inspire country. And unfortunately, education is one of them. In just the span of 5 years, from 2012 to 2017, the education sector has seen increases of physical schools, student enrollment, and passing rates of unprecedented levels. Let's take secondary school data, for example. Enrollment in secondary education grew from about 1.9 million students in 2012 to 2.8 million in 2017. Coupled with the 100% pass rates we have witnessed, this is incredible progress.
Absolutely.
And it's with this context that the Star headline yesterday confused me. What are the chances that in a run-up to an international summit that is honoring Kenya and the President's administration for their educational agenda, a scandal suddenly appears? Rather convenient if you ask me. On top of that, no other daily has covered this story. Not a headline, article, or sentence anywhere.
Absolutely.
So my logical question is this. Was this a sponsored headline?
Yes.
If the media, as I said yesterday, is either lazy, evil, or both, can we take what these people report at face value? For me, this is an obvious attempt to poison the good work that Uhuru Kenyatta is doing.
Yeah.
And I will continue to repeat this. He's a man on a vision, on a mission. My president is working. And we have made it an objective of the Fifth Estate to support him in telling his story.
Absolutely.
Because you cannot stop a good idea whose time has come. So, on that note, we tossed the Star yesterday, we toss it again today, and we tell them do better.
Not even that, they should use, if you have yesterday's newspaper, please use it as toilet paper.
All right, that's all it's good for. So on that note, we have absolutely no winning headline.
And now our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled We Are Anonymous by Pammy Olson.
Yes.
But before we do that, let's have a quick look at some of the books we've looked at this week. This week's theme on Final Thought is Data, the Internet, and the Future. On Tuesday, we reviewed the book The Attention Merchants, the epic scramble to get inside our heads by Tim Wu. In this book, the author surveys the history of advertising-supported media. The author argues that nearly every moment of our lives is controlled in an effort to harvest our attention, and this has greatly contributed to the unfocused tenor of our lives. On Wednesday, we looked at the book Rewire, Digital Cosmopolitans in the Age of Connection by Ethan Zuckerman. Zuckerman provides a bracing analysis suggesting that the internet, instead of making news more readily available around the world, could in fact be choking it off. The author looks at the way we got our news, and what he finds is not encouraging. The world of personalization and customization results in us only seeing news our friends think is important, or news that publishers believe we will be most interested in. On Thursday, we reviewed the book So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Ronson. In gathering material for this book, Ronson interviewed several individuals who were on the receiving end of concentrated internet shaming and bullying. The author is interested not only in what shaming does to the person who is shamed, but also to the person who shames. The answer? Nothing good. Public shaming, in other words, diminishes everyone involved.
Yes, and today we round out the week with looking at Anonymous. And so this book is the first full account of how a loosely assembled group of hackers scattered across the globe formed a new kind of insurgency. They seized headlines and they tortured the police.
I love it.
So Anonymous originated in 2003 on the image board known as 4chan, representing the concept of many online and offline community users simultaneously existing as a rebellious, digitized global brain. Anonymous members, also known as Anons, can be distinguished by the wearing of a Guy Fawkes mask from the graphic novel and film V for Vendetta.
Yes.
But the Anonymous franchise really hit its stride between the years of 2010 and 2011. So hacktivism began earlier than that, of course. I read somewhere that 1994 was the first documented case. But it did not strike fear into the hearts of CEOs, executives, and government officials until that 2-year run. So I call Anonymous a franchise because it's not a club. You don't pay dues, you don't register your name, email account, and Twitter handle with anybody in power. There is no singular power.
Yes.
Anonymous is more of an idea than an organization. And these hacktivists use that idea to get attention in the media and to get a reaction from the people that they are pursuing. So one of its earliest and most successful operations came a few days after WikiLeaks published the embassy cables. This was something that shocked the world. And so the WikiLeaks website found its source of funding being cut off after PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard refused to take donations on its behalf. So in December 2010, the internet pranksters known as Anonymous hacked PayPal in retaliation.
Very good.
So up until that point, Anonymous was known for pranking restaurant managers, harassing pedophiles, and protesting the Church of Scientology. But the attacks on WikiLeaks turned it political. So through unprecedented access to some of the core players of Anonymous, the author is able to capture the essence of how this hacktivist movement got started, to describe the drama between competing factions, and to provide insight into how they really operate. So I actually found this book is a must-read for cybersecurity professionals. It's a very highly recommended book. So it doesn't cover the entire Anonymous movement, but it captures the essence of this hacktivist culture and what motivates its supporters. Very interesting stuff.
So it's a beautiful book. Now, the scariest thing about Anonymous for me is twofold. One, the ability to hack central banks, and second is them forewarning you that they will attack you within a certain time frame.
Right?
No, that's crazy.
So crazy.
I mean, can you imagine Governor Njoroge of Central Bank of Kenya waking up to find $21 million gone? And he had been forewarned. He was told he was warned that it was going to happen, but there's nothing he could do about it. Yes, these anonymous fellows in 2016 hacked into the Bank of Russia and left with $21 million. In fact, in the same year, the group went after 8 central banks, including the Dutch Central Bank, the Bank of Greece, Bank of Mexico, and the Central Bank of Bangladesh. Actually, in one night, from the Bangladesh Central Bank, Anonymous took home $81 million. That's 8 billion shillings. When they did their attacks, here is what they told central banks. An anonymous message was posted on YouTube. This is what it said. Olympus will fall. A few days ago, we declared the revival of Operational Icarus. This marks the start of a 30-day campaign against central bank sites across the world. But it's not always the loss of cash that's scary. It's the loss of confidential data. Early this year, an anonymous hacker hacked American Express and leaked bank details of over 10,000 customers.
Gosh.
Can you imagine your bank details floating around the internet and everyone saying how broke you are?
This is why we need to learn how to code, every single one of us.
Absolutely. Even RUTO.
So one of the key figures who features prominently throughout the book is a hacker known as Hector Montsegur, nicknamed Sabu. In chapter 9 of the book, which is titled The Revolutionary, we are told about how when Sabu was 16, he was watching TV one day and he saw a news broadcast about protests in an island off the coast of Puerto Rico. The US Navy had been using the surrounding waters as a test bombing range. And a year earlier, a stray bomb had killed a local civilian guard. The guard's funeral received global press attention and sparked a wave of protests against the bombings. In the TV broadcast, soldiers pushed against protesters, including the Reverend Al Sharpton. Something snapped inside Sabu. He went to his computer and drew up a network map of the entire IP space for Puerto Rico. And he found that a company called EduPro was running the government site. He hacked into the service, discovered the root password, and got administrative access. In the heat of the moment, he also typed up an angry message in Microsoft Word. "Give us the respect that we deserve," he wrote, "or we shall take it by force, cabron." He brought down the Puerto Rico government's websites and replaced them all with his message, which stayed up for several days. When the US military gave control of the island back to the locals 2 weeks later, he felt it was partly thanks to him. Smiling at his work, Sabu considered this his first act of hacktivism. So what exactly is hacktivism? The word derives from combining the words hack and activism. It is an act of hacking or breaking into a computer system for politically or socially motivated purposes, just like Sabu did when he hacked into the government servers in opposition to the test bombing by the US Navy that had led to the killing of that civilian. Primarily, hacktivism is sparked by an individual's or group's perception of what they consider to be wrong or unjust, and hence incentivizes them to do something about it. Motivations include revenge, political or social incentives, ideology, protest, a desire to embarrass certain organizations or individuals within those organizations, or sometimes sheer vandalism. In general, hacker groups aim to question, provoke, and challenge governments, organizations, and companies who go against their moral position. There are many hacktivist groups worldwide, all working towards different, though sometimes the same, goal of disrupting or exposing the inner workings of government or private organizations in the name of transparency and the public good. The most famous of these groups is the subject of our book today, that is Anonymous.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think you're so right, too, about how scary it can be. Can you imagine getting a text saying, I'm going to do something to you tomorrow, and you don't know what's going to happen,
it actually,
how?
That's scary, and
Very
you cannot do anything about it.
Yeah, they're all in control.
Oh my goodness.
So, on a day when we had no winning headline and no winning cartoons, however, cartoons will be coming back next week, I want to leave you with 2 quotes. The first is from Bill Gates. He says, "The advance of technology is based on making it fit in so that you don't even notice it, so it's part of your everyday life." And the second is a warning to that, which comes from a historian. He says, technology is a useful servant, but a dangerous master. So maybe take some time this weekend to put your phone down and look at your spouse and your friends.
Yes.
Have a lovely weekend. We will see you on Monday.